The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
Mark Carney is trying to end Canada's long relationship with the United States, and Canada is going to have an important decision to make. Do they forge alliances with China, or do they keep existing ties with the United States? This is a very complex question, and you have to realize that obviously Mark Carney and the Liberals' tactics during the election campaign so far have been to basically further sabotage the relationship between Canada and the United States.
Is over.
And this is incredibly problematic for Canada, because as much as people think that they can just buy Canadian and everything's going to be okay, it's a far more complicated equation than that.
Woke has one purpose, only one purpose. Plenty of pretexts, but only one purpose: control.
And if Canada is going to survive as a nation and not implode, it will have to seek out a new trading partner. And the only trading partner that could actually replace the United States is China, not the European Union. We're living in interesting times right now because Canada's economy is caught in what's known as a doom loop, which I'm going to break down to you right now. So in a doom loop, the first thing that you need is weakening growth. The weakening growth then translates into layoffs. Those layoffs then translate into weaker growth, which then translates into more layoffs. And basically, you can replace that growth with consumer demand, business sentiment, and the result is the same. And this is the type of doom loop that Canada is getting into now, with unemployment that is going to skyrocket over the next 6 months. And that's not something I take lightly. That's not something I want to say. And considering the over-reliance on an imploding housing bubble in Canada with insane losses that are everywhere, and you only have to follow Shazzy Goalie on Twitter, and he's publishing them all the time. And you're having other cities now that are catching up very quickly. Rents are declining, investors are pulling out, and more people are fearing the trade war that is ongoing with the United States having a material impact on Canada. And I can assure you that that is already happening. So the thing is, people are going to have to choose between China and the United States. And let me know in the comments which you prefer. Would you prefer Canada to have closer ties to China or the United States as it currently stands? I feel like this election will be a defining moment for Canada, and it's an important moment for Canada because despite the fact that both political parties are not very dissimilar, they are going in slightly different directions that could ultimately lead to destinations that are thousands of miles away from each other, to illustrate a point to you. But unfortunately, with the economy caught in this doom loop scenario, and with growth that is weakening and over-reliance on the housing bubble, over-reliance on the public sector and government expansion and jobs, there is going to be rubber that meets the road this year. And the complicated thing is that the global economy is also slowing down, and the current trading partner of Canada, like it or not, the United States, will likely be heading into recession if it's not already in one. And that recession will partially be due to the tariffs, but not entirely. You see, the thing is, central planners and government officials are now looking for a scapegoat, and they're trying to blame everything on tariffs. It's all the tariffs. Everything is the tariffs.
Which is, we are in an economic crisis that's brought on, I'm going to answer the question, brought on by the tariffs that have been put on Canada, actual and prospective. One of the challenges...
The economic crisis was brought on by former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and you were his advisor at the time.
I think you would find...
These people did not create that problem.
But when you really look at what we've been discussing on this channel now for years and years, you know that the economy has been incredibly weak. I mean, how often have we posted videos about how food bank usage has just absolutely exploded, and it's constantly reaching new high after new high?
In January, for the first time in 40 years, we had to put in place a waiting list.
Because the number of people coming for help has skyrocketed, explains Tasha Lackman, who runs the place.
When I started here just under 3 years ago, we were doing 700 families a month, and now we're doing 1,750.
She says they're having to turn people away.
I mean, when your population can't afford to feed itself, that is a very stark warning that the economy is collapsing and imploding on itself. People's wages over the past 5 years have nowhere near kept pace with inflation. And those higher income earners where inflation has ate away their wages, but they still have disposable income, might think they're okay. But if they actually check their balance sheet and what's happened over the past 5 years, they'll see that they too are being destroyed. $100,000 is not enough for somebody to live on now and have a decent life in Toronto, which is absolutely insane. A lot of the problems that Canada is experiencing is due to the massive cost of living crisis that was inflicted due to large population growth that was unjustified. And Canada did not have the jobs, it did not have the infrastructure to cope with such a huge population increase. And this population increase was mostly done under the Liberal government. Not only did this population impact the economy in such way as pushing down GDP per capita to one of the lowest when you look at G20 countries, what it also did was push more and more Canadians into poverty and push more people onto the streets, into homeless shelters, and overall living standards have absolutely collapsed. You see, if you're willing to import the third world, you're going to get people that come over that will accept third world living standards. And if 10 people will live in a basement apartment, that changes the investment equation for the landlord and it takes advantage of those people. But it also brings down the standard of living for average Canadians who won't accept that really low standard of living. And these are part of the many complex issues that Canada is facing right now. I think Canada needs to position itself as an export powerhouse, but to do that, it really needs to actually attract investment capital into the country. The best way to attract investment capital into your country is by using proven working methods like free zones, cutting corporation tax, and reducing red tape and regulations, directing investment to zones where you actually want that investment, which could be expanding ports in the north to build off a northern passage, which looks likely within the next couple of decades, and to build energy infrastructure so that it's less dependent on the United States, to build refineries so that Canada can actually refine its own oil and export it. And all these things have actually been long opposed, but now due to a nationalist type movement, more and more you are seeing people that are less and less opposed to this. One of the most shocking things that I think has happened over the past 3 months is how close I actually think Canada got to a real war with the United States. And I want to be clear here, people would die in that war, it would be absolutely catastrophic, but the United States would obviously win and the war would be over pretty quickly. It just underscores the insane risk when you have politicians like Doug Ford that are negotiating and they have no control over their emotions.
That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports. Let me be clear. I will not hesitate to increase this charge. If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
And you have this on both sides. I mean, you saw it in the Zelensky debacle in the White House. Whether you hate Zelensky or you like Zelensky, he kept his cool, whereas Vance and Trump clearly lost it and went on emotional rants. And it's very interesting that this is happening. You're seeing more and more that politicians can't keep their cool, and that is really a sign of weak leadership that we're seeing. So right now, though, it remains that Canada's economy is collapsing and the economy is caught in a doom loop, one of the worst kinds, and it's been in a recession for many years now, whether people accept it or not. What happens next, though, could be absolutely crucial. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd highly recommend that you check out this video here, and if you're looking for a VPN and want to help support the channel, please go to expressvpn.com/marketmania. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.